Hey all, Kwame here. So this is going to be a quick tutorial for the product page on Squarespace. I was sent this as a request from the lovely Hannah, um, who really liked this effect here on Minimalissimo Supply and wanted to see how we could get a little bit of this going on, maybe use on some sites. So I'm just going to paste in the CSS that I already had real quick, just to show you how I got it working. And obviously it works quite well. There are a few tweaks I can make. So let me talk you through how we did this. First things first, I'm just going to focus on that product grid for a second. So I am going to get the section ID, clear myself some space, and I'm going to nest everything in there. If I was going to put this into the header injection, then I wouldn't be nesting, and I'd be using like is statements or something, but we're using less because I'm in the custom CSS panel. First thing first, and I'll open up the inspect tool just so that it's here. Right, we want to get rid of this padding. I happen to know that the element to target is products 0, and that clears up a lot of space. I also know that it's the list grid, which I really can't spell today. Also needs a grid gap of 0. And we've got to important that. Well, we don't have to, but keeping my CSS dry, I am spacing, or remove spacing rather. I'm not going to write a whole list of super long selectors. Okay, so here we're still getting a little bit of that side padding, so I'm also going to important here. That should fix. Excellent. Cool. Next step. Now we want to put these borders onto these grid items, and style grid items. I happen to know that they are the grid item class, which is great. Now, if I put a border of, say, 1 pixel solid black, it kind of works, but can you see these double lines getting thick? Now, I could go through and I could write a whole load of CSS and then some media queries to calculate that. So the first item has all 4 borders, and then the second item only has the top and the right, and then the third has the top, right, and bottom. Let me show you a nice, quicker way. Change that to outline, and hang on a second. Yeah, outline 1 pixel solid black, and oh yeah, hang on. Position relative. Bear with me for a second. Oh yeah, sorry. Forgot to put my semicolon in there. Right, there you go. Much cleaner outlines. I know that one's still a bit iffy, but it's going to clean up in a second. Don't worry. Grid item, outline solid black. We're gonna give it that white background. I mean, that said, actually, do this and save us some time. Where are we going next? Background white, solid white. Let's give some padding. Good, and keep things alphabetical. I'm going to give 4 rem of padding. Don't worry, we are sorting out these outlines in just a moment. Yeah, I think that's good for the minute. So one thing I'm really going to quickly do, actually, is let's find my grid item. I'm just going to duplicate a couple of the grid items in the DOM, just so that I can sort of see how the boxes overlap a bit. And as you can see, when they are all lined up, it fixes things. So on a single row, this doesn't work quite as well. But we'll come back to that. Next, we want to sort this out. if you look at the Minimalissimo Supply over here, sorry, I have to quickly check some other tabs. The positioning of the price and stuff is very different. So let's claim myself a bit more space again. I know that this is the grid meta wrapper element. We're going to position it absolute. What else are we going to do? Let's inset it. And we'll do 1.5 rem. Yeah, that's a good distance in. Cool. What else? Let me check something. So I'm going to right click. Let's retitle grid meta. Yeah, thought so. It's not full width. So let's do width 100%. Maybe we need an important. Maybe we need to try width auto. Actually, yeah. Actually, sorry, I don't know why I'm thinking 100% because I don't want it overlapping the entire element. So let's leave it there. Okay. Now we want to add that transformation in, don't we? So what we can do is we can do grid title and grid prices, and we can say opacity 0. Let's do transition all 0.5 seconds ease, and then let's test that. That is not working. Let's see why. So looking here in my, well, it's because I've misspelled transition. There we go. That should resolve things. Always got to be careful with spellings. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. What else do we want? Now, on these, the hover effect, first one sort of jumps up and right, and the second one sort of jumps up and left. Which order is it? Price is at the bottom. Okay, so what we can do is we can do grid title, and we can do grid prices, and we can actually annotate. So the grid title, we want to move up and right. So that would be transform. It's moving up. So let's translate Y. So it needs to start lower. And this is where things get a bit fiddly. Let's do 0.5 rem. And X comes before Y. So translate X. And it is coming from the left. That means we've got a negative here. So let's do minus 0.5 rem. That looks pretty good. Then let's copy this. And so also moving up, but moving from the left. So we can just change this to a positive. That looks good. Now we need a hover. So grid, let's set them back to opacity 0. Grid item hover, and we want to nest, but I don't want to do, I don't want to use less nesting just in case. I'm going to do an is, I'm going to do grid title and grid prices, and they should both transform to translate x0, so back to their origin point, and translate y0, and opacity 1. Not working quite how I want it yet. Translate it doesn't really make sense, does it? Translate x, and translate y. Gosh, my spelling is terrible today. There we go. That's better. We also really want to reposition them, I suppose, don't we? So what I can actually do, there is a find spec. So there's the grid meta wrapper, and then there's the, which you can see there, and then there's the grid, which is a flex element. Good stuff. Then there's the grid main meta inside it, which houses the two items. So let's go back up here. We're going to do grid main meta. I want that to display flex as well. I want it to flex. Let's hover just so you can see direction column. I want it to justify content space between, and oh, I didn't need to do height. I thought I was going to have to do the height. There you go. Now, boom. And we've kept the native Squarespace effect as well. Was there anything else? Oh, yes. There's this little scaling effect on the image. So let's head on down here. Image. So we want grid image, and we're going to do transition. It's going to be on a transformation. It's going to be 0.5 seconds. It's going to be ease. And yes, I did see the spelling mistake this time. And then I want it to transform just none, I suppose, because these are shrinking. And I don't want it to start bigger and then shrink down, because then it's scaling, and what if the image quality is not great? Grid image rather. No, sorry, I was right. Grid item, hover, grid image. So when you hover over the grid item, what will happen to the grid image? Well, it's going to transform, and it's going to scale to, let's do 0.9, so 90%. Beautiful, looking good. I suppose actually what I could also do is I could throw outline 1px solid black here, or maybe actually I'll go for a border this time. Yeah, that's looking a little bit nicer. But stick to one. Yeah, basically the reason why I'm thinking outlines is because outlines basically don't like count towards the size of the. I'm just going to completely remove this title section. Towards like the size of the element. Well, or if you set the border box. So it just avoids things getting shifted to the next line. Let's just nested category title display none. I have to important it, or I have to be much more specific. No, that looks fine. Yeah, so there we go. And you can do all sorts more with this. Maybe I just fix up the rest of the page background. Now, doing this with summary blocks, there's more you could do. We could play with things a little bit more to make this really, really interesting. So, for example, one of the things I would actually go and do, just as a change, you'll notice the pointer is only showing up in certain areas, despite the fact that the anchor link covers the entire element, which is really odd. So what I would say is, where have I first put grid item? There we go. Cursor, pointer. That's just for, a little bit of user experience. Just let them know that they can click on it, but maybe we could do a funky cursor when you hover over certain elements. Yeah. I hope this helps. You're seeing that overflow now, actually. And I think that's the cause. Or is it? Let's find out where that overflow is coming from. yeah, definitely put something in that's giving us some overflow. So what I tend to do is just pull open my inspect tool and do this, and aha, here we go. It is the grid meta wrappers. Yes, that is why I think initially I had put in width auto or something like that in my original code for it, because when you change it to absolute positioning and you inset it, it's the size of the hole or most of the element, but everything gets shifted to the right. I could also have put an overflow on the grid item, but I think this is cleaner as it prevents overlap between items. So here you go. Yeah. Maybe you want to throw in a little bit of something else. Maybe you want to give a background color change, or maybe you would like items to have different colored hovers or different hover effects or something like that. And that's not super hard, because what you could do with this to take it further is let's say grid item nth of type even. We'll do this transformation, so you'll see only the second one, and grid item nth type odd, rotate 360 degrees. And now you mix it up. And you can do all sorts. Maybe we really want to take this further and we want to do something like this. So grid item nth of type 3n. I'm just going to do a random one. Grid column and 2. Grid. Now, obviously, you need to look at what you're doing to take this further here. So what would we need to do? I suppose we would need to do grid auto flow dense here to make it start filling in gaps. And then we'd also need to say grid grid row span 1. Do you know what? Maybe I'll save that for a next video as to how to fill. Oh, sorry. That's why. I need to grid row span 1, grid row span 2. Yeah, all sorts. I'm going to get rid of that horrible 360 rotation effect, and just put this back to how it was. But yeah, you've got options here. The outlines are just either you do them manually and you sort of calculate which sides need to not be there, or you stick with outlines like I said. Or you could do borders, really. Then you would just have to potentially change the box padding to content box or border box, whichever. Yeah, and just be wary. I suppose you could even do sort of 0.5. No, that doesn't work. You could even play a little bit more with the spacing. I mean, these have done theirs. If I show you really quickly, by using a box shadow instead, and that's one alternative way of doing it. So you could do box shadow inset 0 1 pixel 0 0 black. Wait, I'm missing one other thing. I just need 0 0 black, and then And we would need a second one that's going to be inset 0, 1 pixel. Hang on, let me think. Sorry. Inset 1 pixel 0. And this will also look cleaner if you want those thinner lines. But then it's just this annoying fiddliness of then you've also got, let me think. So it'd be pixel 0, 0. Gosh, I'm trying to remember my box shadows now. Oh yeah, 0, 1 pixel. It's a non-inset 1, 0, 0 black, and then also 1 pixel 0, 0, 0, 0 black. That should cover all the sides. Oh, I think I've 1 pixel and four values. Yeah, that covers all of the sides. And then this right side obviously is looking a little bit cut off, and you see they've got the same thing kind of going on here. Let me go all the way up to the top. Like, yeah, you see it cuts off theirs on the end. I would fix that by just putting a right border on the entire grid, or yeah, border right 1 pixel solid black, or something like that. That's just an easy way of doing it. So you've got options. Yeah, there you go. These types of grids using nth child, I think, are really interesting. You can do some funky things. I've done them before. And they can be quite useful, but they do require a little bit of maths. So I hope this is helpful. I will just copy all of this code here, and I'll paste it into a document, which I will paste somewhere, or make freely available. But there you go. Minimalissimo grid for Squarespace. Now, hopefully this was easy enough to follow that then you can consider how you might apply this to, for example, a summary block, in which case you'd just be changing a lot of these elements. You would have to look at the structure because summary blocks are a bit different, and perhaps I'll do another video showing how to get the same effect on a summary block. So I hope this was helpful. As always, like, comment, subscribe. No, ask me any questions you have. If you want to buy me a coffee, the link's going to be in the video description or something. Or reach out if you have requests, you want to work together, or you want to hire us to do something for you. Have a great day.